Hello, 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 hello. Hello, y'all. Let me just make sure that I am here. All right, y'all, let's get into it. So, for those who don't know me, I am Tashina, and I am a executive leadership and team coach, and I help teams and the leaders who lead them navigate tension and build systems that actually work. I'm all about getting shit done in the most efficient way. And one of the questions I've been sitting with lately is how do we make a greater impact at work and how do we get there faster? Because clearly nobody has time to waste, right? There's a lot going on, there's a lot of things coming at us. We just want to get work done and we want to make an impact. We want to feel like we're contributing something to society. And so I wanted to really the reason why this really came up for me is because I remember when I was in corporate and I kept asking myself, how can I actually influence the group I'm working with? Okay. For those who don't know, I started off in when I worked in retail. I worked my way up the management ladder. Then I went into the corporate office where I became an administrative assistant. The administrative assistant in retail was a really big deal. We did a lot of things. And then I moved over into biotech as an administrative assistant. It wasn't the same level of responsibility or even authority. And so I had to figure out, like, how do I make a greater impact? How do I influence people that I don't know? With retail, I was like homegrown in retail. I started off in when I was in fresh out of high school. I was in retail for 15 years from high school, although I did have a retail job while I was in high school, but from the moment of high school on, 15 years. And then I went into biotech. And because I was thinking about, like, how do I make this influence? And I've been really reflecting on that period of my life lately. I remember when I first learned the concept of low hanging fruit. And I learned about it, I will say it really like clicked for me maybe about 15 years ago. And it stuck with me because it made things feel simpler. It showed me that not everything has to be complicated. Sometimes you can make a huge difference just by reaching for what's right in front of you. You know, when we think about you hit the one domino, they're all standing line by line. You hit one domino and they all kind of go. That's what I was thinking about. That's what, that's what it means by low hanging fruit. Like, what's the thing that I can reach for, right? Let me fix the sun is shining. It has been raining this morning, all morning. And yeah, let's get this right. All right, so hopefully that's better. Had to do some things with the sun. I'm sorry about that, y'all. But anyway, so I thought about this. It was something that stuck with me. And I was like, this is what it means to have low hanging fruit, to reach for the thing that's right in front of me, that's easy, and that wasn't so complicated. And what I've noticed in my work with different teams is we love to overcomplicate things. We are going to put things on top of one another, and we're just going to keep overcomplicating things because the ego side of ourselves believe that in order to feel appreciated, in order to get the good bonus, in order to get the promotion, that we have to actually do complicated stuff. We have to do things that make us feel like we worked hard, we worked long hours, we really had to struggle and bring people together, and we had to just do all these things that are so just we just overcomplicate it. And when we do that, we miss like these small little shifts or what we call like leverage points that create the domino effects that move things and create the change that we want positively across the entire system. So today, this is day 5 of the 30 days of systems that make teams work. I want to show you how to spot these hidden leverages, leverage points, and then how to make that domino effect that you want or that ripple effect that you want so you can stop wasting your energy and you can start creating the impact that you want and create the big results, right? Without having more energy depleted from you and having to do just so much more. Okay. So what are low leverage points or what is low hanging fruit? Like let's really establish that first. So I like to call leverage points like those moments or those inflection points of power. And these are the places where a small shift creates a ripple throughout the entire system. So think you put a rock in in the pond and or a pebble in the pond and you drop it, it creates this ripple, right? Um and it brings across something kind of transformational, something different, something that you haven't seen before, right? From still water to like the water is moving, it just is dispersing. And what I want you to understand about this is that it is leverage points or low hanging fruit is not necessarily about making things easier. Okay. Hear me out. It's not about making things easier, but it is about making an impact. Okay. Because sometimes the simplest things are the most transformational. So it's simple, but it's not easy. Like it's the simple things like, oh, duh, that makes sense. We should do that. It may take some work, but duh, it's the next best thing. It's the next thing that we should do, right? So, for example, we could schedule meetings all day. And I must admit, I have been on my high horse lately about meetings. We got to get better with meetings. We are spending too much time in meetings and less time actually moving work forward. But if you schedule a meeting, that's easy. But if the meeting doesn't have a clear purpose, it actually becomes a waste of time. It becomes a waste of energy. And it just makes you feel like, what am I doing all day? Now I got to go take my work home because I spent my time in meetings all freaking day. I spend so much time in meetings that I don't actually have the opportunity or the chance to actually move work forward. I actually can't take action on the things I need to take action on because I'm sitting in meetings, right? So when we think about true low hanging fruit, we're thinking about the things that move things forward. So instead of draining your resources, instead of stressing you out, taking your time, your energy, your money, your resources, we are moving things forward. We are moving things forward. And it's not about ease. It is easy to put a meeting on the calendar, but the impact of having a purpose and having everybody aligned and clear on where we're going is so much more important. I got to touch on politics just a little bit. So there's some things that's happening in our government right now today as we speak, and a bunch of people were called to one place to have a meetup. All these people have no idea what the purpose of this meeting is. They have no idea. And so there's a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of people just wondering, like, what the hell is going on? What are we doing? We're wasted time from the things that I can make an impact on to be here, but I don't even know why I'm here. I can't prepare. And especially for those people who are like introverted, like myself, we like to know the agenda so that we can prepare. We like to know what is the reason for things happening so we can prepare. But how can I prepare if I'm just like, okay, come through? Just come through. We don't know what's going on, but let's just come through. It was so easy to call people into a meeting. It becomes much more strategic and much more impactful and much more a true good use of time when we have a clear purpose to our meetings. So that is an example of like low hanging fruit or a leverage point. A leverage point for a meeting is to have a clear purpose because you spend less time in the drama, in the swirl, in the assumptions, in the what are we doing, right? So leverage points are points of power. It is the places where you can make a strategic move and you can be empowered or powerful to actually move things forward in a positive way. I'm going to always say it's a positive, even though leverage points can move things negatively if you are in the negative space. But for this live, we are talking about things positively. It's also places where small changes can ripple into the rest of the system. So a small change, you put a meeting on calendar without a purpose, it is going to create a small change and it is going to ripple into the rest of the system. But we don't want to just have like a reactive kind of ripple. We want an intentional ripple, a ripple that actually goes through the system, that actually helps, that actually moves things forward in such an impactful way. And leverage points are also spots that help the strategy actually work. If you want your strategy to work, you have to figure out what are the leverage points. What are the places that we need to tap on, pull from, move, all gas, no brakes? Like, what do we need to do, right? So here's where many leaders actually get it wrong. And the places that they get it wrong is that they rely on the same old playbook, the same old status quo, the same old thing like we used to do it back in 2002, right? They're still on that playbook. And a lot of these organizations are focused on command and control leadership versus transparency, flow, um, and they're worried about like, are you giving your best effort instead of like impact? So my best effort could be I'm just coming to work every day. I'm showing up to your meeting, but I'm just doing tasks, but there's no impact that's happening with that. And so that's where some of the leaders push the wrong levers and they do push on things that actually is not going to create the impact. What this looks like, more rules, more rules. I don't know why I say it like that. Can't talk this morning, but it's endless policies trying to control behavior. So I had someone recently tell me in a meeting that I was in that they wanted more bylaws. They wanted to know all the details, the rules of how to operate. And you know, those are all good and dandy, but I'm a firm believer in relationships over rules, relationships over processes and standards and things like that. Because I believe when you can create a good relationship with somebody, you're actually moving the needle a lot faster because you understand we understand one another, right? So this person is like, put in more rules because the more rules we have, the less we have to focus on relationships. The less there's this gray area. This also happened in a team that I work with where it was like, let's just follow the rules. What's in black and white? And it didn't give room for gray area, for nuance, for context. It was just like, these are the rules. This is how it's got to be. Right. And so a lot of times leaders say, the way that I can move my organization, my team, my people is to put in more rules. That's that's a myth. That doesn't work. The second thing I see leaders do is more motivation. So pep talk. Come on, y'all. Bonuses. Like, let me hype you up. Let me hype you up. Hype me up. Hype me up. Right. And people do that, but motivation fades if your heart is not into it. Because we live in a society where people are going to do what they can to get what they want. But if your heart is not in it, it's not sustainable over time. It's like having a new habit and you're trying to have a new habit and you do it because maybe there's a prize at the end, but you don't really sustain. I think about things like Ozempic, GLP-1, things like that. Now, here's a caveat. Some people need it for real health reasons, but there are many people who take it because they want the results faster, right? But you could do that because there's a result at the end of weight loss. But if your diet and your exercise and things don't come with that and is not coupled with that, there is no sustainability. So actually you're still unhealthy. You're still not um achieving what you really want to achieve, right? So motivation, hype, the pep talks, the bonuses in our organization, that fades away if there isn't true connection to the ultimate goal, if there isn't a true purpose. This is why purpose matters so much. And the last thing is more pressure. I'm going to pressure you. I'm going to pressure you. So I'm going to hold you accountable, but I've never talked to you before about what you're accountable for. I've never talked to you about what my expectations are. All it does is create more stress. So any of you have had a boss that pressure you by holding things over your head? So like they try to pressure you into doing something. Again, look at our government right now in this hour, September 30th, in this hour. There's a lot of pressuring trying to happen. If you don't do this, I'm going to take away that. Y'all know what it is. I don't need to talk about it. I don't need to explicitly say it. Y'all know what's happening out there right now. And so this happens, right? So we think as leaders, if I add more rules, if I motivate harder, if I hang promotions over people's heads, then things will move. But they don't. Those are low leverage, like low energetic moves. Those don't move the needle. Those don't move things forward, right? So where should you focus instead? Where are the things that you should be doing? So here are 3 leverage points. These are real low hanging fruit that creates ripple effects across your team. The first thing is infrastructure. I want you to look at the structures and tools that hold the system together. Okay. And I want you to look here because most bottlenecks live here. Like decision making layers, it has to go through all these decision making layers in order to be finalized. There's workflow and task management. So is the workflow moving? How are we doing tasks? Or there's the systems for data, for documents, for things like that, right? Look at your infrastructure because there you're going to find some leverage points that you can move, that you can press on to make a big impact. So if you shift from like one person holding all their documents in their Google Drive to a shared project management tool, like like a shared Google Drive, or you do a simple automation, like I use Airtable for a lot of my coach work and I have all these automations, so it just like automatically does things for me. The bottlenecks disappear. I don't become a bottleneck. You don't become a bottleneck. Somebody on your team doesn't become a bottleneck. Your organization doesn't become a bottleneck for somebody that they're working with third party, right? So when we shift those things, those little small tweaks in the system will create a ripple effect. So look at your infrastructure. The second thing I want you to look at is information. Who controls and distributes information? Is it stuck with one person or is it buried in silos? Look at your org charts. Who's the keeper of information? Who's the gatekeeper? Look at your administrative roles because some of y'all, like I know as a former administrative assistant, I held a lot of information. And as I look back at it now, I should have been more transparent with the information and I should have shared more and I should have created a system because had I done that, there would be less pressure on me from everybody else to where's this at? Can you find this? Can you do this? Like things like that, right? And that's what leads to like if you want to go from a low leverage, low energetic move to a high leverage move, make information public, make it accessible, and make it visible to everybody. Okay. And then the third thing is culture. What's the archetype of your organization? I used to say, like when I was in biotech, it was a certain archetype. It was male dominated. It wasn't female dominated. I look at things like accounting, finance, male dominated, government, male dominated. And so you want to look at what's the actual archetype of your organization and figure that out, because that'll help you to figure out like, where is the move we need to make? Do we need to be more inclusive? Do we need to be more diverse? Do we need to be more open to a lot of different things? You also want to look at age groups. The nature of jobs are changing. There are different ages across our organization. And then also looking at your organization, is it hierarchical or is it flat? Hierarchical organizations come with a lot of rules, a lot of things, versus it might be flat where there's a more dispersed information, there's more empowerment, there's distributed decision making, there are things like that, right? Culture is shaped by what's normalized. So a single ritual like moving from a 2-hour meeting to a 15-minute stand-ups can shift the entire energy of a team, right? Because now I got 15 minutes and I got to get it done. I got to say what I need to say. And it moves from the 75 slide deck to, this is what I'm working on. This is what I need. This is where I could use some help, right? It makes it so much more focused, and you're not spending hours of your day in meetings. And instead, you're spending more time taking action and doing work. Okay. So here's what I want you to walk away with. We waste so much time grinding and hustling in the wrong places. We pile on more rules, we pile on more pressure, we pile on more hype, and then we're wondering why nothing changes. We become the girl that I was before, where I'm like, how can I make influence? How can I get people to do the things that need to be done? And just little old me at this level, right? You need to look at the leverage points. It is low leverage leadership when you are just like rules, pressure, motivation, hype man. We need somebody to really get us involved. We need to put these things over their head. We got to put this negatively impactful, non-sustainable, low-hanging fruit in your face in order for things to happen. So we want to move away from that, okay? Because it's just going to keep you busy. It's just going to keep you stuck, and you're not going to be able to move forward. So when you start working with the highest real leverage points, the things that create the ripples, the things that create the domino effects of change that you want in your organization, everything is going to shift for you. Everything. Okay. You're going to reclaim your time. Your team is going to move a lot faster. They're going to move faster and go just like the ease of it, not, and I don't mean, because I said this is not about ease, but there's the simplicity and efficiency in it that makes it feel a lot easy. Yes, you still have to work. Yes, you're still going to have to do things. And yes, you're going to have to use some brain power and some strategy and some like all those things, but it's going to move your team. The culture is going to feel lighter. It's not going to feel like, oh God, I got to go to work again so much when I go to work, because we're tired of sitting in meetings. We're tired of having all of these conversations that are just all talk, that are not moving things forward. Okay. People actually want to show up. They actually want to do great work. They actually want to make an impact. So let's open it up as leaders, as people on teams. Let's open it up for people to be able to do this. Okay. So my invitation is this: stop pushing where it doesn't matter. Start pulling the levers that create the real ripples or the real domino effects, okay? Because that's how you're going to create big impact with small moves, okay? That's all I have for you today. If this was helpful for you, please share it on the platforms. I am streaming live LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Please share it with your community. I believe that we can find the leverage points in our system that make our lives just so much better, so much more efficient, and not feeling like we're dreading the next day. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.